Welcome aboard! We will be your guides during this magical journey into the movies. It's the perfect job for us because we love the movies. It's showtime! Ready when you are, CB!
Action!
Welcome to Monoreel Radio, episode number 352. I'm Sean.
And I'm Jackie.
And we are here this week to review and discuss the Scream Team. It is Halloween week, and we are wrapping up this month with a Halloween DCOM that I've only ever known by title tile on Disney+. It's one that I've seen. Admittedly, like, the tile makes it look like it's from the 80s. It looks older than it is, so it's always been intriguing for me.
Okay, that's exactly what I want to dive into a little bit more, because you've got Kathy Najimy, who I didn't realize was Eric Idle on there. So that was a fun surprise to discover. But it is, to your point, one of the most intriguing tiles that we have seen on Disney Plus for a movie that we had never even heard of. So what were you expecting going in?
I was expecting the ghosts of Buxley Hall, but zanier, because Ghosts of Buxley Hall was that early, I think late 70s, early 80s,
it kind felt of like the 50s.
Felt like the 50s, feels like Ron Miller. I expected this, and maybe because Kathy Najimy is in it, to have like that, whoa, hocus pocus, but with a DCOM budget. You're watching Disney Channel sort of feel.
Okay. I definitely agree with you there. I was definitely expecting zany. And had I realized that was Eric Idle, I would have been even more prepared for that. But to me, it was reading like undead detectives that are going after like bad ghosts, and they're the good guys. I was not expecting what we got at all.
Well, what did we get out of this film? Was it the whoa, zany, crazy that we're so used to in a lot of these Disney Channel films? Was this better than we expected? Was it worse? That, on top of many other things, is what we are here to discuss today.
This episode is sponsored by Fierce Fox Co., designers of handmade silkscreen shirts. Fierce Fox has a t-shirt, tank top, hoodie, or crew neck for every fandom. So whether it's the movies or theme parks, princesses or villains, the MCU or Star Wars, everyone will find something they love. The designs range from subtle quotes from our favorite films to iconic characters we can wear proudly in so many different styles, such as sketchbook and concert tees. Listeners of Monoreel Radio can get a 20% discount using the code Monoreel at checkout. Visit fiercefoxco.com to check out all of the collections.
Following the death of their grandfather, Ian and Claire move into town with their father to help clean out their grandfather's house. Ian, who was very close to his grandfather, struggles with cleaning out the house as he cherishes his grandfather's inventions and the memories that they shared together. Their father encourages them to go to the town's Halloween festival. They learn of Zachariah Cull, the town's arsonist who famously burned his own home when his wife threatened to leave him, and she perishes in the fire. He was found guilty of murder and burned at the stake. However, that night, the courthouse burned down, leading to the town believing that Zachariah was now haunting them. That night, Ian sees a specter in his grandfather's bedroom and believes that it is his grandfather's ghost trying to contact him. The next day, Ian and Claire find a mysterious box while collecting books due back at the public library. Ian digs out an old ghost-catching machine that his grandfather had built and waits for the spirit to return. He captures it in a jar and shows it to Claire. They are then visited by a second ghost, but he escapes before they can capture him. They chase him into the woods and find an old abandoned home, which we learn is in fact Zone 6 Soul Retrieval Center for North America. Here, ghosts wait to cross over into the afterlife. Our escapee, Coffin Ed, must tell his boss Mariah that he did not retrieve the soul that he was sent for, and that Jumper was captured, and that 2 living souls had followed him to the center. The kids start demanding answers. Ed frees Jumper, who explains that they are the Soul Patrol, helping retrieve perished souls cross I don't know why. I don't know with all the SH. Cross through a portal in a mirror to quote unquote the other side, although they have not been there as they were assigned these jobs. They learn that their grandfather stayed behind and has yet to cross over. The kids tell Mariah that they will help her find and retrieve their grandfather and get him to cross over, and that they will keep Zone 6 a secret so long as she allows their grandfather to fulfill whatever task has kept him from crossing over. She agrees, but tells them that he must cross over by the next night. Back at the house, their grandfather's ghost appears, as does Zachariah's, who captures him and sets the curtains on fire before leaving. The next day, Ian and Claire arrive at Zone 6 and tell Mariah, Ed, and Jumper what has happened. They explain that Zachariah captures souls and steals their life source, preventing them from ever passing over to the other side. Jumper and Ed offer to help the kids defeat Zachariah and save their grandfather, despite Mariah's objections. They go to an old mine, where Zachariah continues to hide. They attempt to capture him, and they see how many souls he is storing there. Zachariah captures Jumper and escapes with him. Police arrive and tell the children that the mine was closed due to the natural gas that it produces. Their father, infuriated at the trouble that they continue to get into in town, tells them that he will bring them back to their hometown of Boston the following day. Ian and Claire tell their father everything, but he refuses to believe them. However, Zachariah burns a message reading "Stay away" on their lawn, proving that their story is true. However, their father is still hesitant to believe them. He also decides to stay in town a little bit longer. Back at the library, the kids see that the books that their grandfather had been checking out were taken and checked out by his nemesis, Warner, who owns Zachariah's old property and plans to rebuild the cabin as a tourist trap. They break into Warner's house and steal the library books back. Warner tells their father that he believes that they stole the books. In fact, he had not seen them do it. Their father then confides in them that he believes that Warner is behind much of the mischief pertaining to Zachariah. Claire believes that Zachariah was not in fact an arson, but instead was digging the mine to help produce and store natural gas, and that his wife's death was an accident. She believes that Zachariah has been seeking out revenge for having been wrongfully accused and executed. Ian, believing Claire and his father are not doing enough to save his grandfather, go to Ed and Mariah and convince them to help him. Meanwhile, Claire and her father realize Warner has done all of this in service of hiding the truth from the town so that he can profit on the ghost story. When they confront Warner, who writes the entire thing off as a myth for fun, he then takes the books from the library and burns them, destroying the evidence they found clearing Zachariah's name. Zachariah arrives to haunt the festival. Claire tells him who he really is and that they can clear his name. He ends his attack on the festival and crosses over to be with his wife, Rebecca, and releases all of the souls that he had captured, including their grandfather's. Their grandfather visits the family that night and tells their father how proud he is of him and how he pushed him away so that he could use his gifts to his advantage and leave their small town. They sit up and talk and make amends. The family then decides to stay in the town of Steeple Falls, which now prides itself on an inventor's town and hosting an inventors festival. I have never struggled reading a freaking plot so much. I feel like I've never worked in radio before. This plot, and this is not to say that it's bad or good. This plot is so wordy when it comes to explaining it. There's just it's mouth marble.
You do know that you have the option to edit, right?
I hate that.
I know you do. I
hate it. But you know what? I could edit this and go over it over and over and over again. It's a lot. Like, they cram a lot of plot into an hour and 20 minutes.
To its credit.
Oh, yeah.
Because there are a lot of characters. Everybody's got a motive and a storyline and an arc. And they really do, I don't want to give too much away of my review, but they really do a good job of getting a lot in. And this is not something I say about DCOMs very often, but continuing threads in a way that makes sense throughout the film and tying everybody's story together. Let's get into it.
Yeah.
We start with this glowing orb and the voiceover where they're looking for a body, which I was not expecting, but immediately hooked. They're searching for a soul while the body is still warm.
Yeah.
Was definitely not expecting to see said body either. I mean, there's nothing graphic about it. There's nothing, gory about this movie at all. It's just Grandpa fell asleep in his chair, which is equally tragic, though. Like, I'm glad they didn't make this man suffer a horrible death, because that was a little bit tough to stomach, too, because, you say the word grandparent and I fall apart. But I just was not expecting this up top, and I was like, all right, I am set. Where are we going?
It does feel, and this is the only point where it feels dated, in the very beginning, because you have like this scream team, da, 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 like this song, but it's you can tell it's like Wish.com Smash Mouth. Like, they just found somebody that sounded like something that was really popular, wrote an original song. I'm not saying the song is bad, but you can tell who it is that they're trying to emulate. That's really the only point of this film, to the film's credit, where it feels dated at all.
That's where the beginning was also such a surprise for me, because it's such a tonal shift from that hokey song. Like, I really thought they were setting us up for that zany, tripping over yourself comedy. And it does get a little bit zany where some of the ghosts are involved. But what surprised me too is how much this film is truly grounded with this family and all the issues that they're trying to work out, in the wake of losing their grandfather. So they established those family dynamics very quickly, that Richard Carlisle, grew up in a small town, couldn't wait to get out as soon as he could, didn't have a great relationship with his father, which was part of the reason, he left. And now he's got to bring the kids back to bury his father and empty out the house. The kids had a great relationship with Grandpa because they would visit every summer. So there is that dynamic of dad doesn't really know how to help them through their grief. They're playing, they're in the house for the reception after the burial, and they're playing these home movies, which we've seen in things like The Sixth Sense. I've never seen this done anywhere. I mean, like, when my family has done wakes, like, we've done picture boards, and then they later updated that to like a digital slideshow. But like, I've never seen or really heard of anyone doing like home movies in this way. And the reason that I'm harping on that is because, if that's how you process your grief, who am I to tell you otherwise? But for here, it's just a little odd, because what starts to feel like a flashback to their relationship with Grandpa is actually the home movies that they're playing. And we see Claire with a camera in frame. So it's weird. Like, you either needed to keep it through her lens and do a POV shot with the camcorder, or we don't see her with a camcorder at all and it's just a flashback. But regardless, you need some kind of filter on there so we know where we're at. Because I didn't know if we were doing like a full rewind and then we were going to see like what led to Grandpa's death at this point. It was just so confusing and so jarring. Like, you just needed something so that we knew where we were in the timeline.
I thought that we started with a flashback that melded into the home video that they were watching. That's what I think that they were doing.
They just didn't execute it very well.
But what a brilliant means, like, when you really think about it, what a brilliant means of fleshing out characters. What better than a memorial service? You see in a memorial service, like, think about memorial services that you have attended. You see in that moment, by and large, the real person. These are people with their real emotions. You're never more truthful with anyone than you are in a memorial service, if you really think about what that is. And I've never seen a movie do this so well. Dirty Grandpa does it in a way that's funny, but like, you know, this is very different. Like, you know exactly who these people are because you get the kids grieving the loss of their grandfather, having had a wonderful life with him. You get their dad, who is just kind of like, let's get this over with. And then when he pauses the VHS tape, he goes, oh, you're laughing, Dad. Didn't know you had it in you. But he's like, but he doesn't say it in a way that's contrived. It's, you know, he's saying it out of frustration and emotion. Then you get Warner, who's up in the study, digging around, trying to find the books. Like, he doesn't care. He doesn't have a heart. He's technically not even attending this thing. He just showed up. You know exactly who these characters are in less than 3 minutes of screen time in a way that doesn't feel forced.
Yeah, they really do a great job of setting it up. And even to your point, the reality of it where the kids are being forced to make small talk, which is the absolute worst.
Yeah.
Small talk is horrible anyway, but like when you have to do it when you're trying to grieve, it is the absolute worst. Also good development for Grandpa. I mean, we know from the kids that they had a good relationship, but also we established that he's an inventor, that's part of what the kids really admired about him. And great tie to Halloween with the pumpkin carving.
Yes.
Because even though we're doing the ghosts and the spooky, it's just a great pull to like incorporate the holiday and incorporate some decorations because we don't really see that, you know? It's not like Hocus Pocus where you get a trick-or-treating scene. All they're doing is prepping for this festival, but it doesn't overtly read Halloween like a lot of these DCOMs that we talk, like Unwrapped, for example. You see the whole street decked out, you know, you don't get a lot of that. So I thought that was a really smart tie. I want to talk about Warner sneaking in. If you're going to break and enter, especially at an event like this, maybe make it less obvious and don't be throwing books everywhere when you don't find the one that you're looking for. First of all, the books are such different sizes. You're talking about a little novel that he's tossing all over the room. And what he's looking for are articles that a librarian had bound together in like an 8x11, maybe even bigger, like an 8x...
Yeah, it's like a big portfolio.
Like a legal pad, or no, bigger than a legal pad.
Bigger than a legal pad.
A legal document. It looks like what we closed our house with.
It's a
that
lot.
Long paper. So she bound them together. So if you don't see that out the gate, why are you ripping things off the shelves and just throwing them out? And then nobody questions it. Nobody questions why this man, who the father knows because he's grown up in the town, showed up uninvited and is rummaging through stuff when you knew that he didn't have a good relationship with Grandpa. You know, like if he had, I wish Warner had tried to play it off of like, you know, he was a really good friend and I was supposed to, you know, I want this as a memento. Is it okay if I take it?
But it's a small town. News travels fast in a small town. So they know that the two of them never got along.
That's what I'm saying, though. If they knew that, he didn't even try to play it off of like, oh, you were never around, but we mended the fence or whatever. They know they didn't get along, and you wouldn't question why this man is in your house.
No, and I think that that's better for Warner. Don't lie. Just be a shyster who only cares about himself, who only cares about his profit, who only cares about the end game. I think it's better. In fact, I like him more that he doesn't try to hide it. It's like, yeah, I don't care. I'm here to steal your stuff. Whatever. Your grandfather's dead. That's a you problem. I'm here to make sure that what I'm trying to cover up never gets exposed. That's all he cares about. It makes him a very good villain.
I do agree with that, but I guess what I'm bumping on is the Richard of it all. I understand that you didn't have a good relationship with your father, but like you own this home now. Like even a throwaway line of like, well, I got to empty it anyway, so take what you want. Would have worked.
The other thing that I really like about what they do here is like under Wraps, for example, I pointed out, and we've seen this in 100 movies, I'm the new girl. A month into the school year.
Yeah.
they give them a reason to be in town.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't choose to move here a month into the school year just because.
Right.
They are here to clean out this house. They are here for at least the foreseeable future because they have to get the house cleaned. They have to get everything sorted through. They need to get the house sold. So we're just going to spend the school year here. Like, we didn't plan for it. This was very sudden. I buy that more than just picked up and moved the week before Halloween, because Hocus Pocus does that too. And I hate when any movie does this, where it's like, well, you know, hey, it's a new town. And, well, look, and it's a Halloween festival, kids. Go play in the leaves, you know? Yeah, Hollywood. Like, this does it the best of any of those movies.
I don't even know that the intent was to stay the entire year, but they do a good job. It's well established that they are going back. This is not a permanent thing. And I also like the throwaway line that you do get from Warner when he's like, well, you don't really know the town all that well. You were only here for summers when you visited. So like, he's definitely trying to like set that boundary and treat them as outsiders. All right, so let's get into the Zachariah Cull legend that Dad tells him about.
I love this.
Everything about it.
I love this.
Everything about it. My favorite Are You Afraid of the Dark? Goosebumps. It was always the ghosts with unfinished business stories. So I like you just hit the nerve in all the right ways with this. But I also love that he's not just a ghost that's going to haunt. He's not going to possess, although I do like a possession story every once in a while. But I also love when they give ghosts agency still. That's what makes them really scary, when they can do things, when they can move things, when they can hurt you. And a freaking arsonist in a DCOM? Are you kidding me? Like, go for it. Pop off, Disney. I was so excited.
It subverts all of your expectations. It takes it to a level that I didn't think it was going to take it to. And there is a certain level, like, you know, when you watch Sleepy Hollow, for example, or Ichabod Crane, the legend of it, you know, whichever iteration you're watching, this is a ghost that is beheading people.
Yes.
And I think that because you're trying to make family films, you're obviously going to clean them up a little bit, but I like the fact that we didn't do that here. This is an arson that killed his wife. At least this is the legend, right? Mm-hmm. It's the arson that killed his wife. No trial. Immediately burned at the stake, which really plays off great at the end when we find out what the twist really is and why he is so angry. They do such a good job of making such a simplistic story that we buy in on. They go all in. They make it violent, in not in a way that children can't watch it, but like they really take it to a level that you don't expect in a DCOM. But they don't muck it up with a lot of unnecessary details, which is why you so quickly buy into it, and that's why the payoff on the twist on the end is so good. This entire thing, and it has that Sleepy Hollow feel, like the Headless Horseman is only going to go after those in Sleepy Hollow. We only have the people of Steeple Falls being tormented by Zachariah. And then let's monetize on it. It's just like Sleepy Hollow.
So good.
Let's build a festival on it. And we're going to play up to the lore and get the money. Like, I love all of this because it makes it real. It makes it feel extraordinarily real. It's Salem. It's Sleepy Hollow. It's all of these things that happened. At least Sleepy Hollow is an act of fiction. But we're going to take it. We know what it is. We're not going to hide from it. And we're going to profit off of it.
I love everything about it. I love how they shot it. Like here you can obviously tell, aside from that they went for period costumes, there is a little bit of a filter in the way that they shot it. So you know that we are flashing back. And I guess that's why they chose not to do it with the home movies, because they had the treatment on it here. Costumes well done, set well done. I love that this is, you know, a legend that has been passed down, but like the town really does buy into it quite literally because they're trying to do this festival. And what I also appreciate is that I like that all of the hauntings and all of the spook and all of the harm are still coming from Zachariah, and he's not living on McDonald's land, and he's not using him as a henchman. He's not haunting Warner and making Warner do the dirty work. I love that they each have their own storylines, their own goals, their own business that they're trying to take care of, instead of just, I'm a ghost and I can't do anything and I need the living to do it for me. And that also, it's great because it's independent, and that's not why the Scream team is after him. Like, it's not like they've been trying to get Zachariah this entire time because they know what he's doing. It's just so well done, in that you have all of these different storylines with everybody going in all of these different directions, but they all do tie together. Just really was not expecting how well done this is. So now, after Dad has shared the story, they're going to sleep, and Ian is staying in Grandpa's room. So he checks on him before he goes to sleep, and he's like, "Are you okay sleeping in here? It's not weird for you?" And Ian's like, "No, it's good." "Homie, you've been sitting in Grandpa's chair this entire time where he did die. He didn't die in the bed, so I don't know why you're concerned about that. You've already sat in it."
Well, he didn't know where he died.
I know, and he's better off for it. But if they know he didn't die in the bed, it's just funny because we know he died in the chair, and Ian has sat in there several times. We've seen it.
The thing that there's like two things that really stick out to me that I don't really care for, that I think they could have done without. One of those things happens in our next scene when we go into town. Warner is continuing to be not even passive aggressive, just like out and out rude to Ian and Claire. And their dad explains that Warner was their grandfather's nemesis. Now, in reality, that is true. In terms of their grandfather was trying to clear the name of Zachariah, Warner didn't want him to. When they ask their father why, he says, "Oh, it was over an old game of Red Rover when they were kids." The age gap between their grandfather and Warner is so vast that story makes no sense.
I disagree with that, though, because if you think about, the pre-cell phone generation, the neighborhood kids would get out, they would all go play together, So I actually do very much buy that.
But their grandfather's got to be at least 15 to 20 years older than Warner.
I'll give you 15, but Grandpa was still relatively young. They didn't make him an old man. Like, I would say maybe 60s, 70s, and I would argue that Warner is 50s, 60s. So if we can settle on 60s, I totally buy that they were playing Red Rover.
But if we're giving them a 10-year age gap, if Warner's 10, that makes their grandfather 20. That's what I'm saying. Like, is a 5-year-old playing with a 15-year-old? Like, I just don't think that they're...
5 and 15, yeah, I would buy that.
I don't buy it. If anything, I think what would have made a more interesting story, and this is the other thing that I'm sort of, like, not jiving with here, we also see that their grandfather's hardware store is shuttered. Nobody's rented it out yet. Now, Warner owns a contracting company. They're doing work, obviously, in the town.
Or at the very least, for the festival, you're buying supplies. I see where you're going with this, yeah.
It's a more interesting story to me that in this small town where you go to the hardware store and it's literally the hardware store, that the two of these guys are nemesis, but they each need each other at the same time. I wish that they would have played up on that a little bit. Also, I wish I would have known more about this hardware store and why it matters. They don't do enough telling us about the hardware store. We know the grandfather was an inventor, but, like, They never mentioned him owning a store. We just see that it's shuttered. And then we see it again at the end when their father decides to rent it out and put his medical practice in there. Oh, yeah, by the way, Dad's a doctor. Of all the things they flesh out, this is just one thing they don't flesh out at all. And it just seems like the storefront is there just 'cause. And I wish that we would have seen more. I suspect they were trying to not make it Beetlejuice because when we get to Zone 6, it feels very Beetlejuicy.
Yeah.
So maybe they didn't want it like Maitland's hardware store. But the fact that he owned a business that technically, in a roundabout way, gets passed down by the end of the movie when the father rents it out to put his shop at, there needed to be something else there. And I think it's a more interesting story when the enemies need each other. It's kind of like in National Treasure, like we're against each other, but we need each other at the same time.
I would agree with that, especially because that plays into small town. There's no escaping each other.
Right.
I do believe that there was a scene cut because I was reading somewhere that Grandpa had the hardware store, but then he was also operating it as a Halloween shop. So
yeah,
that gets very convoluted, but I would buy the notion of like he's retired but he still owned the building, so maybe for Halloween he's just opening it back up, and that would have served well as a tie-in too. But the fact that they never mention it and they don't really bring it back around until, to your point, it turns into the medical building later, it just doesn't make sense. It's not even like Gilmore Girls, where you probably won't understand this reference, but like Luke turned his father's literally a hardware shop, into the diner. He decided to stay in the small town, open up his business, but he didn't keep it the way that his father did. He just kept the building, which is kind of what we see play out here, because it's not like Richard Carlisle decided to start, inventing and or building things. You mentioned Beetlejuice. I want to talk about not just the waiting room, but we do get kind of a Beetlejuicy moment when we meet Ed, the first member of the Scream team, when it is revealed to the kids that there are ghosts and that they're missing Grandpa's soul, essentially. Ian starts hearing all of these things. He goes out into the hallway. He sees the orb transform into Ed, and they're having a full-blown, back and forth. Ian's not really scared. He's more curious as to why this is happening. And I wish that we had also gotten a little bit more emotion when we learn that there are, in fact, ghosts, and that there is the opportunity to see this grandfather that they love so much again at some point, or some kind of worry that he's, lost or stuck between worlds. And instead we get, and they are trying to play it for comedy, where Ed's not trying to be a scary ghost, but he's going to show Ian that he does have that capacity to be scary. So they do the Burton, they do the googly eyes and the tongue coming out. It's the Maitlands, when they're trying to scare the Dietzes. That was kind of a direct ripoff. And I was surprised that they fully went there and they didn't go for something a little bit more practical to make Ed scary to the kids.
I think that they needed it to be more silly than scary. Also, that CGI in the DCOM from 23 years ago at the time of this recording, better than the CGI that you see in their theatrical movies released today.
Oh, I thought that looked awful. I thought all the orbs looked good. I thought most of the fire stuff with Zachariah looked good, but this eye buggy thing, no, didn't do it for me.
Better than anything they're doing today in $250 million movies. Zone 6, yes, Beetlejuicy. I still like it, though. It's different enough because you're not crossing over into another world to get there. I like that it's hidden in plain sight.
Me too. And I love that it's not the only one.
Yes.
I thought calling it a zone was so smart, because then it would have felt so forced and contrived that the kids, to your point earlier, the kids just happen to be in this town where this thing exists. And also there's the legend. It would have felt like there was way too much going on. I totally buy this, that it's hiding in plain sight. I love the building. I love the set. As much as it does feel like the Beetlejuice waiting room, it does totally work. I just wanted to know more about the zones. Like they say this is the North American one, but like I want to know where the rest of them are. I want to know who's working there.
Well, we know there's one in Jersey and that they're padding their stats.
Oh, that's right. That was great. That was really great. But I also wanted to know more about why, you know, these characters, Mariah and Ed, they were just forced to work there before they could cross over. Like, why? What did you do?
Yeah, they never fleshed that out.
Like, it's sort of, you know, a sentence for them. It almost seems like it's a punishment, but they seem like good people. So why did this happen to you? All we know is that, like, they have a week left.
Well, Coffin Ed has a week left.
I thought Mariah did. No, Mariah does too. Or she's almost done.
As she says.
But that's the thing. Like, how long, or why is it ending now? Because we do get the idea that they've been doing this for a long time, especially for Ed.
He said 250 years he's been doing it.
Yeah, he's war era. Mariah, you don't really know where she's from, like timeline-wise where she's from. All I know is that she looks very much like Constance Hatchaway. I think they were really trying to allude to that. But that's also where it very much differentiates from Beetlejuice, because all of these people are in period costumes. We don't know about how they died. And that's the fun of Beetlejuice, right? They had so much fun doing those costumes and playing with the idea of how they died, and that's how you're stuck for all eternity. We don't see that. We see these people as they were in life.
I mean, you see it with Jumper. He's really the only one you see it with.
Which is also just such a brilliant visual cue. Like, you know, his chute didn't open.
Yeah.
Very funny. But like, yeah, they didn't do it. And maybe because it would have felt too much like a ripoff, but there wasn't like a clear, you got bit by a shark, or, you know, you burned to death or something like that, you know. And I think that's where it also tiptoes too much into horror. So I'm fine with this, but like, I just wanted to know more, at least about our main Scream team. Jumper, fully fleshed out. But like, did Ed just serve in the war, or did he die in the war? I
think it's implied he died.
Did Mariah murder her husband, or was she murdered? You know, like, she's still in the wedding dress. Like, I wanted more. There's such great visuals, but like, that's just, and it might be me. It might just be my brain firing off that I wanted to be fed more story here.
It's you, because Mariah, if she had killed somebody, she would not have wanted to cross over. Because she says, I want to cross over. I want to be with my family. You kill somebody, you're not crossing over to a place you want to go to.
That's fair. But then why is she being punished in this way?
Well, that's the thing. It implies almost that you're randomly assigned whether you're going to have these jobs or not, but they don't tell you why any of them have the job. I wish that they would have talked a little bit more, or explained, like, we all have to serve like a civil servant, right? We all have to serve our time, and then we pass it to somebody else who's new, and we get to cross over. And they don't, you're right. They don't explain why they were assigned these jobs. It basically, they make it sound like it was completely randomized and you just drew the short straw.
Exactly. So in my mind, this is Mariah's backstory, is that she did kill her husband, but she had to out of self-defense. So that's why she gets to cross over.
Cool.
It's like Chicago. He had it coming.
Okay. It's a DCOM. Let's talk about the mine, because I think that's the next place we go to.
It is, and I don't love it. If we know that Cole's cabin was atop the hill, why are we going into the mines? That's not even something that really got explained to, as to how they figured out that's where his soul is.
Yeah, I mean, you can very clearly see the crater. You can see the pipe in the ground. But I think it serves as a great set, because I love that they do find this natural gas. And that they are starting to realize, because everybody in the town historically had, like, called Zachariah a kook because he was the first one to light his house with natural gas, cook with natural gas. He saw the future in it, and the rest of them just thought he was a loon.
Which is how most inventors were written off.
Right.
And they say that. You fear what you don't know.
Right. And I do like that we see the remnants of the crater from the explosion.
Yes.
That was great.
And they gave you that library display, too, with the artifacts. So well done, tying it all together.
I love the set. I love the pit where he's keeping all of these souls. It's not scary. It's just unsettling.
I mean, I'll give it that. Like, in the grand scheme of DCOMs, this is totally forgivable. It's not that bad. I guess I just wished that he was still haunting the cabin, especially because it would really give credence to the fact that he hasn't crossed over because of his wife, because he loves her. Like, I want him sort of tied to this land.
But we don't know that yet. First off, the cabin's gone. There is no cabin.
He's a ghost. He doesn't need a roof over his head. He could just be haunting that he'd be hanging out next to the pipe.
But if the idea, because we don't know what the truth is yet, if the idea is that he loved his wife and that's why he won't leave, we don't know that yet. That's 20 minutes after we see this. All we know is that he's stealing souls.
We know now that he killed her.
Correct. At this point, we're still under the impression that he murdered her and that he's just haunting the town. So I get what you mean, but I feel like you've got that opinion because you know how the movie ends.
Right.
Were you thinking that when you saw it the first time?
I was, in the sense of, I wish we didn't have this mind. Like I said, I will, because the rest of this movie is so good, I will look the other way and forgive it. But because we know, at least the kids know there's more to the story at this point. They don't know exactly what. I think I just wish that he was tied to this cabin, because that's the whole point, is getting the truth out. So I would buy it more if he's stuck there because it's not his truth. And that's where he was keeping the souls, in his gas line, in the gas main. That's where I wish the souls were instead of this pit. But they do give us this kind of action sequence later on when Claire falls.
Let's talk about how they are brought back to the house. Dad is furious. You've been in trouble every day with the police since we got here. I'm taking you back to Boston tomorrow. We're done. This is over with. And then you get the message burned on the lawn. I thought this was great.
I did too, especially because this is sort of a trope, right? Where the kids have been hiding something and then they finally fess up and they're like, you know what? Let's just tell the truth. Our back is against the wall. We keep getting in trouble. Let's actually clue our parent in. And then the parent, it's so outrageous, the parent doesn't believe them. So I like that we get the immediate payoff on that. We don't have to wait until the end for Dad to start buying into this. You also get this beat a little bit where Richard and Ian start bickering over, what they're going to do with Grandpa's stuff. And Ian basically tells his father, I'm going to keep defying you in the name of helping my grandpa. You can't just sell his house. You can't just get rid of his stuff. And you can't just ignore what we know to be true, as crazy as it sounds. And then Claire puts a stop to it and she's like, what's with this family? Father and son, nobody knows how to get along, da 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 da. Although I don't feel that there's quite the rift between Ian and Richard as there was between Richard and Grandpa. But then Richard says to her, you sound just like your mother. And at this point I was like, well, why do we care? We know there is no mother in the picture.
Because Disney movie.
Right. But we also don't know what has happened to her. We don't know if this is a divorce. I think we can safely assume that she's dead, but we never get concrete information either way. And we have no reason to buy into this since we don't know, obviously it's a positive thing that Claire is taking her mother's good attributes in trying to fix this, but it's very tropey because we have nothing to grab onto here.
The only thing that I wish they would have done here, because in the next scene, we go from we're leaving for Boston in the morning to we wake up for breakfast and I think we'll stay. Obviously, the dad is starting to realize that what his children, it's truthful what they're starting to tell him, or they've been telling him the entire time, and he's starting to get convinced. You are unfortunately at the mercy of a DCOM television movie runtime. You don't have that moment to breathe because go to bed. When we wake up, we're gone. We wake up, we're staying. Like, you needed that to breathe a little bit more.
Well, think about, though, where the commercials are, because when it's going to a commercial. You can just tell by the edit. You can tell by the fade. It probably didn't feel as jarring when you were watching this on television.
Probably not.
It probably feels like there's a day or two that's passed. But yeah, here it does seem a little quick. So we're staying in town, and now the kids are trying to be overly helpful to distract from the fact that they're just going to keep going about their business anyway and getting to the bottom of things, because now Claire has really started to put the pieces together. And she figures out the gas, and she wants to go to the site of the cabin for more evidence, which they do. And then Warner's dog sees them and is about to chase them off the property, and they ask Ed to create a distraction. Ed owed them so bad for totally ditching them at the mine and leaving them to the cops. Like, am I suggesting that he should have revealed himself to the cops? No, but maybe you could have, created some other distraction and led them away so that the kids didn't actually get taken in. But then, they do need to set up where Dad really does come down hard on them. But Ed leads the dog away and tires him out to a point where he is of no help when the children break and enter into Warner's house.
Yeah, nothing says, we'll be good, like breaking and entering.
I also don't buy Warner's reaction when he sees that the house is broken into, because he doesn't know it's the kids. And
he can assume it's
you
them
can't
at this point.
sick your dog on that on whoever's in there. So, but he's not, he doesn't grab anything. He doesn't, like a means of defense. Like, I'm not suggesting, like, not everybody's got a baseball bat by their front door.
No, only your grandfather had that.
It's so true. But wouldn't your instinct be to have something to defend yourself if your dog is not going to be able to do that?
Yeah.
But he doesn't pick anything up.
It's a DCOM.
He's just calling out a DCOM with an arsonist. I'm not suggesting he take out a pistol especially because we know it's the kids, but just do something. Assume it is a man your size that you're going to be facing and have something to defend yourself with.
Yes, an axe or a knife would work much better in a DCOM than a pistol.
Then when there's an arsonist, it's a DCOM with an arsonist. We've thrown the rule book out the window. Give me something good here.
I'll give you something good. How about this plot twist? When they start putting the pieces together, I love that they find all of these historical documents, because not all of them, I know Steeple Falls had its own newspaper, but I feel like some of what they were using for resources wasn't exclusively from that newspaper. I felt like they were pulling evidence from everywhere else, because if it was only from one paper, anybody could have figured this out. But I love that not only have they used multiple resources to come up with this great plot twist that he did not in fact murder her, and that he was an inventor, so to speak, and that he was wrongfully executed, and that's why he's seeking out his revenge on the town, but also that it's very clear that Warner wants these because he never wants anybody to figure it out. Their grandfather was well on his way to figuring it out. Like, all of this comes to a head in a way that doesn't feel rushed. It doesn't feel forced. They gave it time to breathe. They gave it time to build, and the twist was excellent.
I totally agree. And I love that it's cut against this. It's supposed to be Zachariah's festival. But instead of really leaning into the Halloween of it all, it looks like The Wicker Man.
Yeah,
I
it does.
love it. I love this whole thing. I love how everything comes together. I love that, he's got a really strong case for his unfinished business because he was totally misunderstood. He's got to live with the grief that he caused an accident that killed his wife. And then he was wrongfully killed. Like, of course you're going to be a murderous ghost.
Yeah, no trial, nothing.
Yeah, really, really well done.
There is one thing, though, about all of this that I think falls very flat, and it's Ian. Ian has been so well grounded this entire movie. He has been such a lovable character. He's been sort of mature beyond his years. And when they start putting the pieces together that they can clear Zachariah's name, and that's why he's collecting souls, and they need to clear his name to release him. Instead of seeing the big picture, which is exactly what they're leading to, and I don't care that he's a kid, anybody can see that this is what it's leading to. Ian goes from being this really charming kid to being really pouty.
Yeah.
You're not doing enough for Grandpa! It's like, you watched Zachariah capture your grandfather's soul. This is the exact thing you have to do for Grandpa. And instead, he runs off and goes back to the Soul Patrol to get their help. By the way, why isn't this movie called Soul Patrol? They're never once called the Scream Team. That's another thing that I can sit there and critique. You never hear the phrase Scream Team, not once. But he goes to them, and I feel like that was all in service of having their father deliver the line of, I did that to my dad once.
Yeah.
That's one of the few moments in the film that feels forced, and I think that you sacrificed an awful lot of character in Ian just to shoehorn that line in.
I mean, I will buy the notion that anger is most definitely part of the grieving process, but because we've not really seen anything else, we haven't seen these kids, like, of course they're sad, but we haven't really seen emotion from that. Like, nobody's cried. And all right, if you don't want to have them crying in a DCOM, okay, fine. But we needed something else besides anger as the stage of grief. You needed another beat earlier on. We know that Ian, like, that's the thing. Claire is very much, it's good the way that everything is divided up and that Claire is very much focused on getting the truth or justice served for Zachariah, because that will lend itself to the bigger picture. And Ian is keeping it grounded, bringing the focus back to Grandpa. It's just that because we have already seen Ian get mad at Richard for the way that he's handling his father's death, I think that's where this is reading as pouty instead of in service to, he's been ignored this whole time and he's tired of it and he needs his father to trust him.
Yeah. Now you get the attack on the festival where Zachariah arrives. He starts wreaking havoc. It's just enough havoc. They could have done more, and I think it would have been too much, especially because at the end of the day, this is a DCOM.
I mean, they've been building to it, right? We didn't even talk about the fact, you mentioned it in the plot, that he lights the house on fire, Grandpa's house. We see kids have to use a fire extinguisher. So I like that we got, that little bit, then it builds to the stay away where they have to put that out. You're right. They really, they pushed it just far enough with this.
And then you have the predictable but happy ending where he is able to cross over, be with Rebecca, and freeze all of the souls. What I didn't expect, and it was good that they did it, was that this movie was not ever really about Grandpa and the kids. It was always the father and son story, because Grandpa basically excuses the kids so that he can sit with Richard in his last moments before crossing over. And I think that was really well done.
Yes, and they kept that thread alive the entire time because Grandpa had this box full of, pictures and newspaper clippings of all of Richard's accomplishments. And he was very proud of him. Grandpa obviously didn't know that he was going to die. It wasn't like he purposely put those library books in front of the box figuring, oh, somebody will find them, realize they have to go back, and then they'll see this box behind there. No, that's why Grandpa had unfinished business, because he never got to tell his son how proud he was of him, which is also, call your parents, kids, if you're so inclined. Don't be stubborn and don't let things fester. Talk through them. And that was exactly what the root of this story was that pride got in the way. They wouldn't really talk to each other. And that was all Grandpa wanted and why he couldn't cross over yet. The only thing is that, I guess it is the Scream team that arranged that he could stay and hang out for a minute before he crosses back. Why is this not a family affair? Why is it just the moment with your son? Why would you dismiss the kids? And why is nobody crying? Like, that is the only thing that I am lacking here, is the emotional beat from you actually get to say goodbye to your grandfather now. And don't roll your eyes at me. Yeah. I understand.
Yeah, not all of us need to throw our body on the casket.
I know that. But this is like an amazing thing that happened here. Even, movies like Casper get a little bit more emotional with this, where you do get to close the book on the unfinished business. So like, I needed something more than bye, Grandpa, we'll miss you. And maybe at 12, that's all you can muster up at this point. But like, give me a tear behind the eye or something.
Are you ready to move on and discuss the cast?
Yes.
Okay. Let's start with this cast, by the way, is absolutely star-studded.
Shocking.
A lot of them were still up and coming at the time. And, Disney in the past has really hit home runs with young talent or with people that were earlier in their careers. And they certainly did here.
But this was not a case of like feeding the machine, like this wasn't your Demi Lovato, your Hilary Duff, your Miley Cyrus, where they're, grooming these young actors to keep coming back and stay with the Disney contract, or even something as far back, like they used to do. The reason that Miley Cyrus and Demi Lovato and Hilary Duff were even a thing was because of people like Annette Funicello and Hayley Mills. Right. That did the Disney contract, and then they kept coming back as they got older and a little bit more, fine-tuned with their acting chops.
All right. Let's start with probably the star of stars that came out of this film, Kat Dennings.
Right? Who knew that Marvel was not her first tiptoe into Disney? And now they love her. Now she's back for Shifting Gears. I mean, I had no idea that for all intents and purposes, she is a Disney kid. She didn't quite go the same route, like I said, like a Miley or a Hilary Duff, but like this is exactly what they want. They find the young talent. She sharpened her skills in sitcom because she's I love her dry sense of humor. And now they got her back in like the perfect role for Shifting Gears.
You know what the funny thing is about Kat Dennings? Watching her in this role as a child actress, she's exactly the same as she is now.
She hasn't changed. And it works so well for this character too.
Yeah, she was great in this movie. Mark Rendell plays Ian, her brother. Again, I said earlier that they did a disservice with this character by the end, and I believe that to be true because otherwise, I love everything about him. I like that he isn't scared. I like that he wants to honor, see, you may not like this. He wants to honor his grandfather's memory and legacy, but he doesn't have to be an emotional train wreck to do it.
Oh, wow. That is getting very personal. Yeah, I do agree with you though. Like, I love that he is the driving force to honoring his grandfather. And yeah, they just overdo it with that one emotional outburst. I will buy the anger from a kid who's trying to process their, because that's the thing. He's old enough to understand what's happening, but he's not old enough to process the emotions the same way that Claire is. So I'll buy an emotional outburst or two. You just did one too many.
Robert Boxdale plays their father, Richard. Had it not been for his chemistry with the two of them, I would have told you that this could have been anybody. And it's not that he does a poor job with it. In fact, if there's anything, he saves this character, because this is not a deep character. This is not a conflicted character. This is sort of like the 101 DCOM single dad that also had daddy issues. You've seen it 100 times. He's so good with the two of them, though. I buy them as a family.
I do too. And I really like that we didn't go clueless dad as far as the trope with him where he had no idea what was happening with the kids. I just wish we had gotten something a little bit more from him of, it's not only that he didn't have a good relationship with his father, it's that he's also lost a wife, and that's why he's able to just be so matter of fact about these things, but also how losing the mother relates to the kids. Like, you needed something of like, look, guys, I know this is hard. We've been here before. We got through it once. We will get through it again as a family, instead of seeing this fractured relationship with Ian as a result. I think they just could have unpacked it a little bit more, but otherwise, I totally prefer this to, oh, the kids are out trick-or-treating.
Yeah. Kathy Najimy plays Mariah. There is a well-documented history on this show that I cannot stand Hocus Pocus at all. I am so happy that I have seen Kathy Najimy in so many other Disney roles, because Kathy Najimy is, in my opinion, and it's not popular, and I don't care, her talent, it's wasted in Hocus Pocus. She's better in this than she is in Hocus Pocus. She's better in Descendants than she is in Hocus Pocus. It's roles like this where I feel like her comedic timing really does get to shine through, because she's not just screaming. I thought she was great in this. I liked her. In fact, I wish we would have had a little bit more time with her.
I agree, especially because she did tiptoe into the Mary role a little bit, which is perfection, by the way. You were just wrong, sir. I don't say that often because nobody's opinion is wrong, but in this case, it is. She does do the Mary a little bit, like when she's hiding under the desk, and, she does that thing where she like talks kind of fast and she kind of starts to mumble, but it works so well here with what she's doing. And what's remarkable to me is that her entire performance takes place behind a desk, essentially.
Basically, yeah.
She does so much with the space that she's given, and you just know, other than what happened with her husband, exactly who this character is. And I love it. I agree. I wanted so much more of her.
Eric Idle as Coffin Ed was probably the most perfect casting in this movie.
Amazing.
It redeems everything that has happened since they put him in Journey into Imagination, because I'm sorry, he's not the Dream Finder. I cannot stand the character now in Journey into Imagination. Again, I'm not hiding anything from anybody. I've well documented that they should bring the Dream Finder back. This redeems all of it.
I wish there was more of him too. I wish that they had just let him do his thing a little bit more. It's kind of like the disservice that they did to him in Casper 2, where he's the derpy sidekick, but like they don't let him go into Monty Python. Like I just wish the zaniness came more from him. And it sort of comes more through Jumper than anything else.
Yeah, Jumper, played by Tommy Davidson. I think we got just enough time with Jumper because he's so fun. He is such a great character. You're right. The wackiness that you expect in a DCOM comes from him. And I feel like it was just enough. I feel like if they had done too much with it, it would have just become like DCOM chic. And I think that when he gets captured by Zachariah, like, you love Jumper. You feel so bad. Like, you're upset that he gets captured. And so that moment of self-sacrifice, all of it works.
He's one of those characters that does so much with very little screen time, so that, to your point, when he is in danger, you are so invested of, oh my God, are we going to lose this character that I love so much? I also really like the relationship. A lot of that comes from the relationship he develops with Ian.
Yeah. Let's talk about Zachariah. Played by Kim Coates.
Huge surprise. Sons of Anarchy fans. That's where you're going to know him from the most. The entire time I'm looking at him, and I'm like, he looks like a cross between Joaquin Phoenix and Jude Law. And I'm like, where do I know this guy from? And then it finally clicked in my head. It was Sons of Anarchy. He was so great in that. And so great in this. Very, very little dialogue, but does so much with the facial expressions, especially when he's, they put him in that like third dimension where he's capturing souls. The emotion that comes through is great. And I do like that he eventually gets a speaking line.
Yeah. And then Nigel Bennett plays Warner. I like Warner. I love his scheme. I love the property that he owns. I just don't buy his age.
I thought he was great. I like that they didn't go for the jovial small town guy that's hiding a big secret and has an ulterior motive. I do agree with you with what you said earlier, where he's just kind of out and out mean and gruff. I actually think he could have taken it a little further. I kind of wish he was a little meaner.
Final thoughts on the Scream team. I'll go ahead and let you go first.
We ended this month on a high note. On a month of DCOMs, we went out with a bang. I'm glad we saved the best for last. I really, really enjoyed this. I think as far as DCOMs that are non-musical, Phantom of the Megaplex is still going to be the top for me, but this is a very, very close second. I really, really enjoyed it. I would have enjoyed it even without this cast. I love who they did cast in it, and they definitely elevated the film and made it more fun having all of these familiar faces, but the story was strong enough on its own where this could have been anybody, and I still would have enjoyed it just as much. Holy cow. Well done. I wish I had discovered this when I was younger because it would have been in heavy rotation, but I will actually go back and watch this. Maybe not every year, but I definitely enjoyed it enough where this is going to be in the Halloween rotation for sure.
Oh, no, I will go back and watch it every year. This is one that needs to be in the rotation. This is a hidden gem. I don't think enough people are talking about this movie. I put this high up on my rank of Disney Halloween DCOMs. I put this up on the same pedestal as a Phantom of the Megaplex, at the same level as a Halloween Town. To me, this lives up in that realm. Don't Look Under the Bed, on a second viewing, I really enjoyed it a lot more than I did the first time. So I'd say that's maybe a tier below, but only by a step. This one is very, very high. And you're right. We ended on a high note, and I am so glad that we didn't go into this having ever seen it before, which is sort of the case with a lot of DCOMs when it comes to you and I. And if I'm being honest, I'm not somebody that wishes my life away by any stretch of the imagination. But knowing some of the other DCOM titles that we didn't get to for this Halloween month, it makes me very excited to go and visit some of those for next year, because I'm just hoping that we find something at this level. And I think there's one or two out there that we may be able to even put up on this level. But we want to know what you have to say about the Scream team. You can let us know on all forms of social media at Monoreel Radio, or you can email us monoreelradio@gmail.com. News of the week is coming up, but first a quick break. Now that we live in Florida and spend a lot more time in Disney World, you know that we love to share our park experiences with you, especially in our dockside chats. However, telling you about our personal experience during a park day while sipping on a margarita is not the same thing as getting travel advice from a professional, which is why you should reach out to Jackie when planning your next vacation. Her assistance is complimentary, and I promise she can tell you a lot more than where to find the best margaritas. Visit kmvtravel.com/Jackie to join us in sunny Florida. Cheers! The food offerings for Jollywood Nights has dropped. They waited almost right up until the buzzer, by the way, because this festival runs from November 8th through December 22nd, and they just announced this menu a couple of days ago, which took me by surprise when I saw that they have 35 new items on here. I thought that they were holding off because maybe they were just going to roll out the same old. Nearly half of the menu is brand new.
This is going to be one expensive calorie fest, is all I have to say. There are so many things I want to try. And the returning favorites, I was very excited to see that they have in the Sunset Boulevard Market, the turkey, the Thanksgiving popover is back. We loved that. It was excellent. So I definitely want to get that again, if I have room for it. There are so many new things that look just amazing. Before we get to our new picks, what are you looking forward to that's back on the menu?
You just gave it away. The holiday popover.
The popover?
That thing is the perfect bite in every scoop.
It really is. I thought it was going to be your hot chocolate too.
That was good, but if I can only have one, I'm having the popover. But let's talk about some of the new stuff on the menu. What is it that's caught your eye this year?
All right. I have to narrow this down to one food item and one bevy item because there are so many things. We're not going to go through them all because that's just going to be boring for you guys to listen to, and we will keep you here forever. But we will have this linked on social media so you can see the full menu if you've not yet. The Hickory Holiday Mac at the Backlot Express, that I'm definitely looking forward to. I mean, mac and cheese is always a staple, right? But they're going to put those holiday flavors on top of it. So I'm really excited for that. And then, I am a sucker for green drinks. They are doing at Ice Cold Hydraulics a mint chocolate cold brew. So it's a cold brew with the cold foam is going to be mint, and then you can get it with alcohol. So that's probably going to be my holiday drink of choice.
Oh, you mean they didn't put green apple on it like they did over at the Muppet offering for Kermit? Why would you put green apple with mint chocolate?
And the boba? Why boba in there?
But I'll tell you something. The Miss Piggy strawberry glam. Now this I'm all about because it's the strawberry boba, but it's that and strawberry cheesecake with strawberry ice cream, chocolate pearls. Like this, you're like marrying all of the flavors very well. And I love strawberry cheesecake. So like for a dessert item, this is high on my list. And how am I not going to have the beer margarita over at Baseline Tap House? They're like, I know it's not a holiday offering per se,
but you combine the two greatest things in the world.
So, I mean, how am I not going to have it?
That should have been my top pick. I think the beverages are going to kill me more than the food, because then there's also the Stroopwafel bourbon coffee. And all of the drinks that I want are going to, that perfect up or downer, right? The alcohol brings you down. The caffeine brings you up. It's great for your heart. I'm going to have myself a night at Jollywood.
Thank you all so much for joining us this and every week on Monoreel Radio. Monoreel Radio will always be free, but there are many ways that you can support the show. Please give us a rating wherever you listen to your podcasts. Join the conversation on social media at Monoreel Radio on all major platforms. Share your favorite episodes with family and friends who may enjoy them. And of course, book your next trip with Jackie. Links to everything can be found at monoreelradio.com. We all get one story. Make yours a magical one.
On behalf of Monoreel Radio, we'd like to thank you for joining us. We'll see you at the movies, the stuff dreams are made of.